Hello there, listeners, and welcome back to my cozy little corner of the internet. In the previous episode, Eric attempted to escape from his captors, only to be caught and taken to the place where his trauma started. In today's episode, we'll continue with this tense tale. So, grab your favourite beverage, sit back, relax, and I shall begin. Chapter 8. Search for Eric. Jasper looked around him, but there was nothing but an inky void as far as the eye could see. He had tried to use his magic to create a ball of light, but it dissolved just as quickly as he created it. What's going on here? It's like this place is eating my magic, he uttered, confused, as he thought about reaching in his pocket for a torch. Except, he didn't have one. Oh yeah, I didn't think to pack one, he muttered, mentally kicking himself. Mom always said don't be too reliant on magic. Remember, Jasper, magic is a tool, not a crutch. His mother's voice echoed all around him, before it disappeared into the void. Jasper just let it sink in for a moment. What was this place? Why was he there? He started to run. There had to be something. It couldn't just be an endless void. Could it? Jasper kept running despite being surrounded by darkness on all sides. He heard his own ragged breathing echoing around him, but the darkness didn't fade. He paused to catch his breath and was ready to give up. This place really is endless. Jasper? A familiar voice called out to him. He perked up as he looked around for the source of the voice. Jasper! It called out to him again, only this time it was much closer, and he looked out ahead of him. Eric? Jasper called out as he took a few tentative steps forward, before breaking out into a run. Eric! He called out again, hoping to get a response, but he had a feeling that Eric was in this direction. He was sure of it. He kept running despite his mind telling him it was hopeless. Soon enough, something began to form. He looked around him and saw trees branching out of the darkness. They twisted and grew, forming an arch above him. Jasper continued to run as the trees arched over him. In the distance, he could see something else. He squinted his eyes, and he saw a flash of red which stood out. Jasper picked up the pace, and when he got close, he saw that it was Eric, who was sat down with his back to him. Eric? Jasper called out, but Eric didn't respond or turn around. He didn't give any indication that he had heard Jasper. Jasper stepped closer, growing visibly concerned. Eric? He called out again as he gripped his friend's shoulder. Eric slowly turned around to reveal dull eyes and an emotionless face staring back at him. You're too late. Jasper let out a cry as he sat bolt upright. He quickly looked around, taking in his surroundings. He was in a small room that was well lit due to the natural light pouring in. A gentle sea breeze flowed in through the open portholes. He felt relaxed, as he could smell and taste the salty air. Admittedly, it did help him feel calmer and more grounded. Jasper let out a sigh of relief. It was just a dream, he whispered as he lay back and took a few deep breaths. This had been the first time he had been able to sleep since Eric had disappeared, but his stress and worry had manifested into that rather strange dream. He had hoped that it was just a dream, and not a warning of what was to come. You were asleep for quite a while, a familiar voice spoke up, causing Jasper to sit up and look around. He saw Mel standing at the door, leaning against the doorframe. How long have you been there for? He asked her as he stretched. I heard screaming, so I thought I'd come and check on you. Jasper looked away as his face went red. I wasn't screaming. Mel raised an eyebrow at him. It sounded like screaming to me. Did you have a nightmare? Jasper shook his head. No, I just like waking up screaming. It's great for the lungs, he responded sarcastically as he stood up. Sarcasm really isn't your thing. It is now. What do you want, Mel? Dan told me to tell you that we're almost there, and we'll be docking soon, Mel informed him as she walked away from the room. So you better grab your things and get on deck. Jasper watched Mel leave, then he turned towards the bed and found his suitcase next to it. He quickly grabbed it and left the room, running up the stairs and out onto the deck. He was greeted by the sound of seagulls and saw Mel leaning against the railing and looking at the approaching cityscape. He couldn't help but stare at it in awe. Tall skyscrapers touching the sky, larger buildings, and just the sheer scope of the place was a far cry from Little Hamlin. Jasper shrank back a little as he realized just how small he truly was. and he began to wonder if it was such a good idea to do this after all. No, you can't back out now. Eric needs you, he thought defiantly to himself. Eric was in trouble. Clearly it was far from over, and whoever was behind the original attempt was about to finish what they had started. They needed Eric for something, but he wanted to help him before they were able to carry out their plan. It's too late to back out now. Are you okay? Mel asked him as she turned around to face him. Yeah, he answered as he took a step closer to get a better look. It's very different from home. Mel just smiled and nodded sympathetically. The two stood in silence, watching as the boat stopped at the nearest available dock. Dan had come out of the wheelhouse of his boat and put the plank down to allow access to the dock. This is as far as I can take you, he told the two as he flashed them a toothy grin. When you've finished with your business here and you need a ride home, just let me know, he offered kindly as he handed Jasper a piece of paper with his number on it. Thanks, Dan, Jasper responded gratefully as he put the piece of paper in his pocket. He and Mel waved goodbye to the man before walking down the plank and onto the dock. The two left the docks, and Jasper immediately hopped to the side as a woman pushed past him. Sorry, Jasper whispered a quick apology, but the woman didn't even pause or acknowledge his existence. I forgot, this is what people on the mainland are like. Mel hummed in agreement as she grabbed hold of his arm to help him navigate through the crowd. I didn't realize you were from here originally. Jasper didn't even protest as she held his arm. He was just relieved to get through the crowd in one piece. Not this place, but somewhere further inland, he answered as the two stopped looking back at the crowd. The crowds were just as bad. Probably a big city thing. Makes me glad we live in Little Hamlin. People there are much more pleasant, Mel admitted as she looked around at the buildings. She blinked as she saw a bakery and people walking in and out. Her eyes opened wide with realization. Mel was standing outside the bakery, waiting for her parents to be finished. It was a small shop and had a small crowd of people, so she simply gave her parents her order and waited. Once they were inside, Mel had her phone out and began to play a game on it, completely immersing herself within it. Mel? Mel, is that you? A sickly sweet voice called out to her. Mel looked up from her game and saw a rather attractive red-haired woman staring back at her. Do I know you? Mel questioned, becoming increasingly uncomfortable with how close the woman was. You might not remember me, but I remember you, the woman responded, not fully answering Mel's question. Mel had to take a step back as the woman examined her. My, how you've grown. Mel took another step back, visibly repulsed at how close this woman was getting to her. What do you want? She demanded. She just wanted the woman to get to the point so that she would leave Mel alone. The woman simply smiled. She was unfazed by Mel's demand or her body language. I have a favour to ask of you. Mel gasped as she felt a hand on her shoulder. She quickly turned around, her hand raised. She froze in place when she saw it was Jasper, with both his hands raised. She sighed with relief and lowered her hand. Don't scare me like that. Sorry, Jasper apologized to her as he lowered his hands. You had that wide-eyed stare, and I wanted to make sure you were okay. He had meant that genuinely, even though she had hurt him. They had been friends for a while, and as much as he would have liked to, he couldn't switch that off. Her expression softened at his words, and she gave him a small smile. Thanks, I appreciate that. Seeing that bakery made me remember something. What did you remember? Jasper asked her curiously, though the sharp look she gave him made him wish he didn't ask. Right, you don't want to talk about it. Mel was visibly relieved when Jasper dropped the subject. She took a breath and regained her composure. We should look for a place to stay, she spoke, looking at Jasper in a matter-of-fact way. Jasper was surprised at this. I thought we were going to look for Eric. We are, but not with all our things. Besides, we need to make a plan. We don't have time to plan, Jasper snapped at Mel, his arms flailing about in panic. Eric could be in real trouble. We can't delay. Jasper, listen to me, Mel called out to him, placing both her hands on his shoulders. We will find him, and he'll be fine, because she went to so much trouble to get him, Mel reassured him. Her green eyes gazed sympathetically into his amber ones. I know you're worried about him, but he needs you to be calm, and he needs you to have a plan. Jasper took a deep breath and ran his hands through his hair, something he always did when he was worried or stressed. She was right, though. Eric wasn't in immediate danger. They needed a plan, not just for finding him, but how to rescue him. He let out a sigh. Can't believe I'm saying this, but you're right. Mel gave him a sympathetic look and a comforting smile. "We'll find him and get him home," she spoke softly as the two walked down the street, looking for a place to stay. They soon found a decent-looking place that was reasonably priced. The desk clerk gave each of them a key to the room. They then went upstairs and found their room number. Jasper put his key in the lock and pushed the door open. It was a decent-sized room with two double beds, closet space, a small TV, and even a kettle and some supplies to make tea. There was another door that led into a small bathroom. The decor was basic, and there was not much to write home about. However, it was clean, and the furniture didn't look old or worn. Mel and Jasper looked at the beds, relieved that they didn't have to share. Mel looked at Jasper. "Which bed do you want?" Jasper simply shrugged. "I don't mind. You pick a bed." Mel blinked at him, surprised. "Are you sure?" Jasper nodded. "Yeah. Ladies first." "Okay. I'll take the one by the window," she spoke as she put her suitcase on the bed and opened it. She had packed some clothes and some other essentials. She started to put her clothes into the closet. Jasper opened his suitcase as well and pulled out his spellbook and small bag of potions. "You should keep hold of them," Mel advised as she looked at them. "They'll come in handy," Jasper added before he used levitation spell on his clothes to move them over to the closet, where they folded themselves neatly. Mel just scoffed at the trick. "Now you're just showing off," she remarked as Jasper gave her a smug grin. She simply rolled her eyes at him. "Okay, let's come up with a plan." Jasper grabbed his spellbook and opened it, flicking through the pages. He sat there for a moment or two, biting his lip as he stopped at the page he needed and read the passage in the book. Mel watched Jasper open up his backpack and pull out a pair of gloves, put them down on the bed in front of him. "Are those Eric's?" Mel asked him. She had a rough idea of what he was going to do, but she just wanted to confirm. Jasper silently nodded. "You're going to use magic to track him?" "Yeah, though I've never actually used it to track a person before," he admitted, a sheepish smile on his face. Mel just sighed and shook her head. "You chose one hell of a time to test it," she remarked as she looked at the gloves. "If you want, I could turn into a dog and try to get his scent." "So, you are a shapeshifter," he remarked as she raised her eyebrow. "My mom taught me about shapeshifters. People can change their form at will," he explained, the smile on his face growing wider. "It was obvious once I thought about it. Also, you don't know any other form of magic, so you're not a mage." Mel just laughed. "Should have known you already figured it out," she spoke, but she wasn't mad. It was a relief. "It wouldn't work anyway since we have no idea how far ahead they are, and scents generally fade over time. Chances are they'll have transported him in a vehicle." Which would make it harder to pick up his scent," Mel chimed in as she snapped her fingers. "I forgot about that." Jasper nodded and looked down at the gloves. "With magic, we'll have more of a chance at finding him. If I do it right." "What do you mean, if you do it right?" Mel questioned as she gave him a skeptical look. "I really don't think it's a good idea if you haven't done it before." "I have to try," Jasper spoke defiantly as he held his hands out towards the gloves and took a deep breath. "Do you need anything else?" Mel asked him. She knew there wasn't much point in talking him out of it. She had heard of cases where a missing person was found months after they went missing through the use of magic, so she had hoped that it would work now. Even if she didn't entirely believe that it would work, she was willing to do anything to make it easier for him, even if it was to fetch things. Jasper shook his head. "I just need silence so I can concentrate," he told her, as he focused intently on the gloves, channeling magic through his hands as he spoke an incantation. The gloves glowed ethereal purple and started to float upwards. Mel just watched in awe. It was the first time she had seen this done in person. She turned to look at him to make sure he was okay. He didn't look exhausted, which was good. Jasper had ignored everything else in the room as he continued chanting the incantation, and after a few moments the glove floated towards the window and pointed a finger straight ahead. "Did it work?" Mel asked as she quickly ran to the window. Jasper took a deep breath as he became aware of everything in the room again. He saw the gloves waiting and pointed at the window, and he saw Mel moving towards it. "Open the window. I think they'll lead us to Eric." Mel nodded and lifted the latch off the window and pushed it open. As soon as the window opened, the enchanted gloves floated out and pointed straight ahead before they floated down towards ground level. Mel quickly turned into a bird and flew out the window to follow the gloves. Jasper quickly grabbed his spellbook and backpack full of potions and ran to the window. He looked down and saw the gloves floating off and Mel now on the ground in human form running after them. He quickly climbed onto the ledge and jumped out, casting a quick spell on his feet to slow his descent. When he landed, he saw Mel and the gloves disappear around a corner and ran quickly to catch up to them. Hold on, Eric. We're coming. That's the end of today's episode. Jasper and Mel have arrived on the mainland, and they wasted no time in searching for Eric. I just want to take this time to thank you all for continuing this journey. It means so much to me that my world is resonating with you all. Jasper and Mel have put their personal differences to one side and engaged their thinking caps to help Eric. You can get a thinking cap of your very own by visiting my Etsy shop for all your amateur sleuthing needs. I'll leave a link in the episode notes. Until the next time we meet, don't go wandering off into strange neighborhoods. You never know who might live there.